How's everyone doing? I know it's been a while since I've done like a video update, and that's for a lot of good reasons. First off, and I say it's been a busy season, that doesn't start to define what's been going on. The amount of time I've actually been home has been asinine in terms of just not being home much. I'm not complaining about that. It's been nice getting out there this last few, I'd say 4. Finish up principal tracking. That means all the parts that we're going to add to it, guitar, bass, drums, vocals, keys, anything that we're going to mix together to make the songs has been supplied. So what we're in now is post-production. And in post-production, the way I do it typically is there's 3 phases we're going to be going through. Phase 1 is the initial mix down. That means one by one we go through each song. One session we'll take each song individually. That way we're not rushing it. And we go through everything, the equalizing, the frequency, making sure everything's balanced, make sure the timing's right, make sure tuning's right. If there's anything we have to retrack that's possibly redone, we'll do it in phase 1. And think about this when we're mixing a song. One of the biggest things that's tricky about mixing a song is you don't just throw sound in there, adjust volume, and you're done. Music's tricky because when you're making sound, you're also making frequency, and you're making wavelengths into the air. And so the way I think about music, I think of it like a sphere, okay? And that sphere is the space that you're occupying with sound. And far too often, if you're not careful, too many artists will just take all the sounds and leave them right here in the middle. And when you do that, what you're doing is put all the sounds on top of each other, and it's hard to distinguish one from any other. And we get that primarily in lower frequencies, like bass instruments, bass drums, lower toms. Anything that's lower, chunkier, heavier, if you don't differentiate those in mixing, using equalizing, using frequency adjustments, whatnot, then those sounds just stand on top of one another, versus the opposite, which is if you find those frequencies, you kind of find a space for each sound to exist on its own, and when you're listening to it back, you hear each instrument individually. That's what makes a professional recording different than an at-home recording most of the time, is that little detail right there. And that takes a long time to do. It's not like you just go in, around, you're done. You go back, you listen, you go back, you listen, you go back. And so Mark will spend hours to make sure every instrument is distinct, sounds right, sounds good, and is where it's supposed to be. So right now, that's what we're doing with each song. After today, we have 5 songs that we've completed phase 1 on. We still have 6 more to do. After that's all done, what happens as he's doing that, I take those songs after we're done with phase 1 mixing, I put them on my flash drive, I bring them home, I upload them so I can listen to them on my headphones, in the car. And what I'm doing throughout the week when I'm not in the studio is I'm listening to those songs over and over and over again. Now I'm taking notes. Hey, bass and kick drum here are too muddled, not distinct enough, you can't differentiate them. Here the vocals are too loud. I'm taking those notes. Then what's going to happen when we get through phase 1, we'll be into phase 2. All we're doing is taking those notes and we're going to implement them. And so we're going to make those tweaks. And the nice thing about that, what makes that so fast, is we already have most of the core work done. We're just doing the minor adjustments. Once those minor adjustments are done, again, take those home, spend a week listening to them over and over and over, come back. Hey, here's the last little bits to do. Pretty much phase 2 doesn't end until all those little notes that keep popping up are satisfied. And then once that's done, once it's mixed down again, and to a point where everything's where it's going to be to the best of its abilities. But once that's done, we get into phase 3, and that's going to be the mastering process. And mastering is nothing more than taking, okay, we start with the pieces, we mixed them down in phase 1, we perfected them in phase 2, and phase 3, taking all that work and now making it production friendly. That means essentially anything you hear on YouTube, Spotify, radio, if you buy a CD, whatever you guys are going to hear, the end product is what mastering is. Mastering is nothing more than just enriching the product so that ultimately it goes from sounding like here to like here. Expands the sound, I guess is the best way to define it without being too technical. So that's where we're at. We're right in the middle of phase 1. So as far as release dates, I don't really have a solid release date for you. And I'm doing that on purpose because every time I do that, within a week I'm usually coming back saying, hey, guess what? Something came up and that's not going to happen. So this may be July when this gets out. And I know it's kind of frustrating because for almost a year and a half, 2 years, it's like, okay, when is this actually going to get done? That can be frustrating as someone who's waiting, who's participated, all these people who've helped out. It gets weary when it seems like this thing's never going to get done. We are working hard at it. We just keep running into different delays and things that happen. But we can either quit and whine about it or just keep working through it. That's what defines perseverance. So right now, I don't have an exact time. I would guess July timeframe. Late June, I would say probably early July. Now, there is a possibility that somewhere in June, I may pull one of those songs out. Haven't mastered ahead of time, or at least 90% mastered like Pull the Switch was. Do a nice lyric video to it and release that a little bit early just to satisfy people and give them a little something to chew on before the full album drops. That is a very, very real possibility. I just have to determine which song that's going to be. And even that's hard to do because you go into it thinking, well, here's a song I definitely want to do. And then you get halfway through recording and another song starts to blossom, like, oh, that's the one. But then you get to mastering and another one pops up. And that's what's been happening this whole time. Is different songs rise, while other songs, they don't fall at all, but they just kind of level out, while other ones are a little more catchy and poppy. Matter of fact, the song we did today, that little song you heard at the beginning, that little riff, that little song, we started working on that today. And every time we've worked on a song since recording till now, every time, I swear, it just goes from here to here to here to here. It just keeps blossoming. Like I talked about that sphere, it goes from being here and just start to swell. And this song could very, very easily be the next one you hear, or one of the first ones to come out, because on top of being a badass, like, punk-style song, it has such an incredible message tied into it that pertains to a lot of different marginalized communities, but particularly the LGBT community, who's really facing some opposition right now from some pretty haughty and terrifying people out there who, while they're entitled to their fucking, I guess, premise on things, trying to turn those rotten beliefs into fucking action is disgusting. And it's important that not only those in those communities, but those of us that consider ourselves allies to them, aren't just sitting on the sidelines and being passive about it, that we're stepping up and saying, no, we're not going to fucking just let these wonderful people's lives be tarnished. We're going to stand up and fight back with our people who are struggling in those groups. So, not to rant there, but it's a song that's about that. So it's important that when you're doing messages like that, when you're doing a song about women's rights, when you're doing a song about racial tension, you're doing songs about work reform, oppression, that you don't take that lightly, that you're serious about it, and that you're doing your best to make sure that what you're putting out there isn't disgraceful. So, again, taking our time, patience is the word right now. But thank you so much for waiting around. The best thing you can do during this time is continue to go to the Burns Down YouTube page. There's some playlists there, and you'll see Novocaine, Mutiny, there's like 5 or 6 of them. You see 5, I think, Billboard Center lyric videos. Of course, you see the Pull the Switch lyric videos. You just keep listening to those. That helps me out with algorithms. It also helps me out just to continue to garner support outside of the local area. Justify doing festivals. Justify actually trying to do shows in the future. If that isn't there, there's no reason to play the song live and no one's trying to listen to it. But that's the best way you can help until then, and continue just to reach out, encouraging messages, and all that fun and great, alright? Anyway, thank you all so much for sticking along, and I can't wait for you guys to do a fall my list. If you felt like Novocaine gave you a step in the right direction, wait until you're gonna hear it like there's no way it's pet, because it sounds good, and you're not wrong there. But it's gonna be good. Look forward to seeing you guys out there, and yeah, can't wait till this thing's out. See ya.